Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the 2024 Fall Town Hall meeting.
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second.
Before we do that, can we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. We've got a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, none heard. I'm supposed to make, I just found out, I just got the agenda, so I'm supposed to make opening remarks. I haven't prepared any, so, and I'd rather hear the other elected officials instead of me, so I think that'll be my opening remarks right there.
If you want to introduce city staff?
Yeah, we could do that. Are they nearby?
No, the staff that's here.
Oh. Well, we have three folks who are important to our city standing right over there. Mike Jazorski on the left is the Finance Director, Human Resources Director, and Deputy City Administrator. The gentleman in the center is Lieutenant Derek Peters with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office, and he's a liaison between the Sheriff's Office and the City of East Bethel. And on the right is Rod Sanow. He's the Fire Chief for East Bethel Fire Department. Okay, other folks, if you could stand up, we got Nick Schmidt back there. He's the building official. If you guys can, there's Aaron Berg. He's the community development director. Excuse me, I'll stutter it out eventually. That's Nate. Can you stand back up for just a second? That's Nate Ashford. He's our public works director. This is Craig Yoakum, the city engineer. I'm looking out there. There's so many people I can't see you guys. So can you put your hands up if there's somebody else?
Carrie. We also have Carrie Frost here, but she's doing some duties in the back.
Okay, well,
Kevin.
Carrie Frost is the administrative coordinator for the city of East Bethel and Jack's right hand.
Could I make one quick statement about
Sure.
the East Bethel city staff?
You bet.
This is the best bunch that we've ever had to work with. They're an exceptional group,
Yep,
and we're lucky to have them.
agreed.
Without them, I couldn't have done anything, and I appreciate everything they've done to help me and the city and the council out. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, I would definitely second those remarks. We have some amazing, talented people that come here because they enjoy the job and not just for a paycheck.
Yep.
So there's a distinct difference.
And as I said on Monday night, our incoming city administrator, that was one of the important points to him, was the quality of our staff. So, updates by elected officials. I know we have, well, our incoming city administrator is the chair of the Anoka Board of Commissioners. Would you like to make some comments, Matt, or do you want to defer to Julie?
I can make some quick comments. You want me to come up?
Sure, yeah, please. I'd say Julie Brastad, the commissioner, county commissioner who represents our area and areas around us, is here too, so want to hear from Julie too.
Well, I don't want to take away Julie's thunder here. I'll let her say a few words here in a bit. But Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and residents of the community, thank you for being here. It's a privilege and an honor to be here this evening and to meet so many of you, and just to kind of say thank you for the recognition and the ability to serve as the new city administrator. I had the opportunity to meet with Jack this evening a little bit. We talked, and I think are of like mind on some of the concerns of the city, and I look forward to stepping into this position and embracing the challenges and working hard from the get-go. But just from a county standpoint, I think we're in, I always say we're in excellent hands. We have, like you, we have excellent staff there, and I was quoted in the paper as saying we have staff that are second to none. And that's 13 years of working with these folks. You'll get to know them in 13 years, and the fact that they work hard, they make your job easier, I think is just phenomenal work. Retaining them and recruiting new ones, of course, is a challenge everyone's having these days, and so the county is experiencing that as well. And so we continue to try and build a culture there where people are welcomed and they're appreciated, and I want to do the same certainly here in East Bethel during my time here. So it's from a county standpoint, we're continuing to invest in roads and infrastructure and that sort of thing, and I think Julie might talk on some of those things that even we spoke about in the Transportation Committee as early as this morning that might relate to East Bethel. So I just want to come up and say thank you, and I'm certainly have an open door policy. Anyone that wants to get together and meet, I'm here, willing to talk. So anyways, that'll conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And Ms. Brastad, Commissioner Brastad.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you mind if I face these people?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, for hosting this. This is always fun. You do this twice a year, and I try to get up here and be here as often as I can. It's truly these town hall meetings where we can really connect and get to know each other and have some conversations on the side, and it's been great to hear what your concerns are. For those of you that don't know me, I am Julie Brastad. I am the county commissioner on the county board that represents what is called District 2. So that includes Northern Blaine, Ham Lake, East Bethel, Bethel, half of St. Francis, and Oak Grove, everything north of Viking Boulevard. I like to call it God's country. You know, we're the heart of Anoka County. And I've served in this position now for 11 years, and it's truly been an honor and a joy. There is challenges always, but it's good. I was just chatting with someone that, you know, she was commenting that people probably call more often with complaints than compliments, right? And the way I look at those complaints is that it's an opportunity for what we're doing at the county. We can step back and we can look at what we're doing. Is it the right thing to do? Is it the best process? Are we overcoming barriers? Whatever it is, it allows us to stop and look and reevaluate. So whenever you have county concerns, my number, email is everywhere. I try to be as involved in my community. You guys see me quite often. I'm in and out. I belong to 3 chambers in my district, so I bounce around between the St. Francis Chamber, the Ham Lake Chamber, and the East Bethel Chamber. Try to get as many of those meetings and connections in as possible. But today is a good day in my mind and a sad day, because I've served along with Matt. Matt's been my colleague for 11 years, and he's been a great, great colleague. So what I look at as a loss for our Anoka County Board, I truly look as a gain and a good thing for the city of East Bethel. Matt he's smart, he's got experience at the city, the county level. He just completed his master's. He's been an excellent colleague, and he's gonna leave a hole on our board that will be hard to replace. Probably about 4 people right in a row asked me what happens to Matt's spot. So according to our county attorney, it sounds like when Matt's last day is done on the county board, the very next day will trigger a special election in that district. So an announcement, filing dates, election day, all of that will be publicized and in detail, so we'll know exactly what that looks like. If there's more than 2 people that file for that position, then there'll be a primary. So I will have a new colleague, you know, and I have mixed emotions. Matt has been a great friend, and I'm excited for him because this is what he wants to do. This is what he took his master's in. So I think you're getting a really good guy. So just hoping you all keep an open mind and give him a opportunity to show you what he knows. I think that's going to be great. This year I am, like Matt said, I am chairing our transportation committee, and I also chair our public safety committee. Transportation, we are, now that we've got things kind of wrapped up and fully funded on Highway 10, last couple years we've made Highway 65 our priority. Highway 65 pretty much sucks, right? All the way from East Bethel down. Wasn't a huge fan with some of the things MnDOT chose to do, especially at Viking and some of the J-turns. I still, we had a big conversation about that. We think, even though it's, Highway 65 is not a county road, it's a state road, it's controlled by MnDOT. We just really, everything that's happening up in Viking, things just don't seem like they're improving. We are going to be pretty aggressive in putting pressure on MnDOT, lobbying for an overpass. You know, let's just do it right. And we know the county, and we've got a new transportation tax. So, you know, we might have some more funds to help that along. Highway 65, what happened this last session, we got the fully funded amount that we need for what we're calling Section 2 of Highway 65 down in Blaine. So that includes 99th, 105th, 109th, and 117th. The plan right now, and there's some fine tuning to be done, but big picture is that there will be an overpass at each one of those intersections. Highway 60, right? Yeah. So if you can picture being on Highway 65 and rush 5 o'clock, you're down by Old Piper, you're going to be able to go straight through up to Bunker Lake Boulevard without a stop. Yeah, that's huge. We got a lot of wins. It took a lot of different funding sources to get this money pooled together. Probably see some work really start in 2025. What you're seeing out there now is in preparation for next year when they do a reclaim and overlay from Spring Lake Park up to here, up to like 237th. I mean, those potholes this spring driving on 65, people lost tires. I mean, it was bad. So yeah, we'll keep working on Highway 65. I think Matt and I together putting some more pressure specifically on Viking. I think that'll be great. I think that'll be good. Public safety, we're in a county, thank goodness, that appreciates law enforcement. We want a safe community. We don't want to become downtown Minneapolis. We're willing to support our sheriff's office and our local police departments. And like Matt mentioned, salaries, you know, everything is going up. Inflation, for the last 3 years, prior to this upcoming year, we were able to keep our levy flat. That's not happening this year. I mean, inflation, just our fixed costs, we had an increase of about $25 million in just our fixed costs. Things we have no control over that are actually just absolutely tied to inflation. So this year is challenging. Our preliminary budget for next year came in a little over 15%. First time in my career, either on the county board or city council, that I've ever voted for anything or seen a double digit like this. I'm actually not supporting a one-time increase of 15%. I had proposed that we spread it out over a couple of years, so it wasn't so much at 1 year. Because we have had a 0% for the last 3 years, most of my colleagues were like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. So we can disagree, but still agree, right? So anything in particular, any questions you have for me? think you might have more questions for city council. Yes, ma'am?
How did we fare with the new infrastructure bill? What are we expecting to see in Anoka County from that?
Well, we got some money to finish the third lane on Highway 10. And that was the last part of the big part of Highway 10 from Coon Rapids up through Anoka, and then Ramsey. So we got the final part of that funding, and that's for the third lane in Coon Rapids. For infrastructure, monies that we ended up getting from the state, we got about $102.5 million for that section that I mentioned in Blaine for those 4 overpasses. That section from 99th up to 117th is about a $195 million project. And so with this last session, we closed that gap. Now we're considered to be fully funded. So we're moving on to Bunker Lake Boulevard. That will be our next overpass that the county is, pretty much leading the charge, working with, City of Ham Lake and MnDOT. So we've gotten some transportation dollars. And then the county will be getting some more, like it or not, the extra tax. We will be getting some more dollars for transportation that we can use on roads, sidewalks, trails, opens up, we might as well do some things in our communities, bring some money back to our areas. Yes, sir.
Is there a reason that they decided not to do Bunker versus doing like a 99th and 101st?
Yep, so when they looked at that stretch through Blaine. It was just over a 7-mile stretch. And then they broke it into 3 sections. That middle section was where the majority of the accidents, what we're calling section 2, at 99th to 117th, was the most unsafe and where the deadliest and most serious accidents were occurring. And some of those were the easiest fixes. I mean, it was clear, MnDOT agreed that we needed overpasses there. So $195 million doesn't seem like a little bit of money, but the section south of that, from like 93rd, that goes down past the 2 Highway 10s and down into Spring Lake Park, that is a massive cluster that the people at the table, MnDOT, Spring Lake Park, City of Blaine County, they couldn't come up with one concept plan that everyone could be on board with. That's going to be, it's a much more expensive, more difficult section. So decided to go with the middle section, under $200 million. Most of the accidents were occurring there, and work on that. And then section 3 is the section north of 117th up to Bunker. But really the only thing that's in that section is Bunker Lake Boulevard. And then MnDOT wants to close off some of those right-in, right-outs that they have along there. So we're trying to push Bunker to follow very closely after those other 4 bridges go in. Yep. Any other questions you might have for me? Well, I'll turn it over to the council. I'm always a phone call away. And I know Matt well, so if things aren't going your way, just call me and I'll get after them, okay? Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you both, Matt and Julie, and thank you for inspiring me to make some comments. So a lot of information we passed on. This is just to mention that just the discussion that just occurred, this is why Matt's experience with transportation in particular is going to be of use to us. That was one of the factors. As far as the city of East Bethel this year, the good news is that we are going to have a 2% levy increase rather than the 15% from the county or 19% that Blaine's going through or 7 or 8% that Am Lake are having to deal with. I don't know what Oak Grove's up to, but the big driver in the budget this year was a 14% increase in the Anoka County Sheriff's Department because they had to increase wages, salaries there to attract people and retain people because people are not going into law enforcement as much as they used to. And so that was just a need, unavoidable, had to do it kind of thing. And fortunately, we got a one-time, that's the operative word there, one-time public safety grant in the amount of about a little over $500,000, and that helped defray the costs of that increase and help with some other expenses, so we were able to keep the levy increase down. But like I said, it's a one-time deal, so. And the other good news is that I've talked to both Lieutenant Peters and also Commander Lensmeyer, and it is having a positive effect on their ability to attract people and retain people at the Anoka County Sheriff's Department, so that's great. At least it's working. On the other hand, next year there's not going to be a public safety grant, and so all other things being equal, as they say, I would expect that we're probably going to be hard pressed to keep the levy increase as low as it is this year. I'm famous for having gone through that very same thing about 3 months ago during a meeting, and I think I might have uttered a profanity as a result of it, but unfortunately the machine wasn't working or something. My wife didn't pick up on it. Aside from the budget, so on December 11th, we'll be doing the final approval on the 2024 budget. And so you have the picture on that. Otherwise, we did have the Nexus facility come in, the psychiatric PRTF, psychiatric rehabilitation and treatment facility. Okay, I always stumble over it. Sorry, but anyway, they came in and. We gave them the aid of some conduit bonding, and there was a ribbon cutting last week, and we wish them well. There was no way to do anything but help make it happen because of zoning related things like conditional use permits and all that travel with the land. And we spent a lot of time as a city council familiarizing ourselves because it was complex. We don't work in that field, you know. That's the interesting thing and the challenging thing of doing this work is you have to be a jack of all trades or Jill of all trades, and you know, so you wind up having to educate yourself, and that was fairly complex. Otherwise, I think people would have to say that we've been very supportive of businesses and also of housing development that corresponds to the zoning, and that's how we intend to stay. Is we want development. It's all about the type of development. It's not whether you want development. Development's inevitable. So it's just making sure the type is what the people of East Bethel want. And earlier in the year, the first issue of the East Bethel Bulletin that I had anything to do with was about what is the means of communication that people pay attention to and getting information from the city. One is number one was East Bethel Bulletin, which goes out quarterly, and we may be increasing that to 5 or 6 times a year. And secondly is the city website and the media center, which in these meetings, including this one, hopefully will be on YouTube as well as on the website, City of East Bethel website, media center. And then there's a sign out by 65 and whatnot. But that was to find out how do people find out about what's going on with the city, and how do we, you know, the communications via avenues that we pay attention to, and the other is the vision that people have. That was the second issue, is the vision that people have for East Bethel going forward. What do you want the city to be like? You know, and it's not a one-time deal. It's a moving moving target as people come and go from the city. So we're trying to be responsive to what the residents want, and I'm sure we make mistakes, we all do, but at least it's a conscious effort to try to be responsive to what the people of East Bethel want, because we're not here because we have any agenda. We're here just to represent what the residents want. And that concludes my opening comments. So we're on to the exciting part of the program, which is general questions and answer session. And if you have questions, ideally you'd come up to the microphone so they can be recorded. If you have a real strong voice, I guess you could holler them out, but we'd prefer you just come up to the mic.
Do we have a separate mic, Jack?
A portable or anything? Good thought, Bob.
Get one once in a while.
If anybody has a first question, you can just come up to the mic, until we get the other thing sorted out. Stephanie?
Hi,
Hi.
Mayor Lewis, members of the council. I don't have a question as much as, normally you don't see me in front of you until June, but I wanted to come here today to officially invite each and every one of you, including our residents. We are in the throes of planning Booster Day for 2024. So I just wanted to officially invite our council members. We talked at our last committee meeting that we would love to see more of a presence from the city council, the city staff, including our commission and advisory members. To that end, I know we talked with our liaison, Mr. Miller, at our meeting about the city having its own booth and having it manned so that residents can approach you all throughout the day with their questions and be able to meet and talk with each and every one of you. So please mark your calendars for July 20th, and we'll be in touch with more details as far as that goes. Now, as for the residents, we have something new this year. We are doing our first ever East Bethel's Got Talent show. So we would love to see all of you sign up and be a part of our talent show this year. I think it'll be a really fun addition to the event. So council members, you're welcome to compete in our talent show as well. Karaoke or something. We're trying to get Mr. Miller to do that. So anyways, so on top of that, I did want to also give an update to you where we are. We're actually ahead of the game this year with our fundraising. As you know, we are a community-supported event. We actually already are able to name some of our 2024 sponsors, those who we know we've either already received funds from, and that includes a pledge of support, again, from Route 65, Aggressive Hydraulics, Central Truck Services. I know I'm missing one there. And I just got word today that Ham Lake Chamber of Commerce is making a donation. So we're actually ahead of the game with our donations.
Good.
We would like to invite any businesses and individuals, if you'd like to become a supporter of Booster Days, to reach out to us. For more information on any of the stuff throughout the year, you can go to our website, eastbethelboosterdays.com. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Any luck? No cigar, huh? Okay, I guess we'll have to use the microphone up there. If you have a question, please feel free to come up. State your name and address if you want.
Good evening. My name is Oscar Granquist, 24024 Fillmore Street Northeast, East Bethel. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, commissioners. It's not really a question that I have right now, although I will have questions later on down the road for the incoming personnel and city administrator. But I did want to take an opportunity to thank Jack for his service. I had the pleasure of sitting on the Economic Development Authority. Jack and I have had numerous sidebar conversations about the development of this great city, infrastructure, planning, and just regular conversations. And there is no perfect fit for any job, especially with technologies and infrastructures changing and the demands that we all have. But I personally wanted to say thank you, Jack, for the conversations we've had, your service to this community, and I wish Mr. My bad, Mr. Look, all the best in your future endeavors here. But Jack, thank you so much for your service and the conversations that you and I have had.
Thank you, Oscar. I really appreciate that.
And I look forward to what's coming forward.
Well done. Who'd like to be next?
Good evening, everybody. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Pam Kalaji. I live in East Bethel on 224th Lane. My comments today are strictly directed to council members and to the mayor. It is not to any staff, new staff, or existing or leaving staff at all. All right. Should I wait for him?
Sure.
Should I continue?
I imagine it's going into the wall in a second here.
All right. A pattern has been developing over the last 5 months that is alarming to me as an East Bethel citizen. The information that I'm presenting to you guys tonight is a matter of public record. They are all within the public meetings and recordings. If I deviate from that, I will let you know where I'm deviating from it. It concerns the lack of transparency, best practices followed by the City Council and Mayor Lewis. I've now lost 2/5 of you guys. Okay, there he goes.
It's a regular circus, isn't it?
It is. It is. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. The first thing I'm going to speak to, and I'm building up to the appointment of the city administrator, is on June 6th, Mayor Lewis was appointed by council vote to the position of mayor. It was not, end quote, it was not mandated that a special election be held. The second thing that happened is on that very same day when you were sworn in and elected mayor by the council, you immediately indicated that you, quote, had somebody in mind for the East Bethel vacancy seat and announced that a 2-week window for East Bethel citizens to apply for that vacancy and interviews to be completed on the June 12th date council meeting, excuse me. On June 12th, this council appointed Bob LaRoche on June 12th. No interview of Bob LaRoche was held as indicated by Mayor Lewis during the June council meeting on June 12th. Thirdly, the city administrator job appointment by Mayor Lewis and the city council. The current city administrator job description was reviewed in full on October 9th, 2024, and no changes were made to that full-time position. October 9th, the council announced that the current contract with Jack wouldn't be renewed and that Mayor Lewis communicated to the record that he, quote, had somebody in mind for this position. The following requests were made subsequently to those dates to the mayor and the city council here. On October 23rd, Council Member Mingle requested on record during the council meeting that Mayor Lewis's candidate follows the established hiring practices for the city of East Bethel, that they apply and be vetted by staff, be interviewed, and a request was made for the timeline to hire the new city administrator. On November 1st, and this is particularly concerning for me, a public records request asking for the finalists of the city administrator position was made. That request was not fulfilled by November 9th. City staff, who I do not hold liable for this, could not fulfill that request as they were not informed of the candidate's name. This puts the staff in a position of being unable to fill that public records request. The city staff and council members were emailed the candidate's information by Mayor Lewis the morning of the city council meeting on this Monday, the 13th, 23 days after the request was made on October 13th. City council meeting, and the staff was giving 10 hours, including the council, 10 hours they were given 10 hours to review that information before the city council meeting this past Monday. During the November 13th meeting, Mr. Lewis and the council members confirmed verbally that they had prepared, vetted a hiring package with the city attorney for the city administrator, and provided that to the candidate. This was done prior to the meeting, prior to the council voting to approve his hiring package, but it is pending a background check. But because the hire is already serving on the Anoka County Commission, he would only be working 60% of the expected time for the city of East Bethel. In this position, and will be paid 60% of those wages, or $87,000, while he's working the two positions. While it should be noted that the hire has asked and has been indicated that he would be phasing out of his role as county administrator, it should also be noted that Mayor Lewis himself has confirmed that the candidate has indicated he could perform his responsibility as city administrator and county commissioner, and there is nothing in the law that precludes that. We have no reassurances that we will have a full-time city administrator. His current position, if he chooses to continue with both, does not end until November of 2026. His current salary, according to the county website, is $87,984. Here's the key. The city administrator is a huge key position for the city of East Bethel. And as a East Bethel let me just wrap this up. Okay, so here is my question to you. On what basis did you make the decision to hire this position with little or no transparency at $147,000 annually, 4 weeks vacation package, and a 6-month severance package without cause, as you reported on Monday's council meeting?
Okay.
This last question I'm going to ask you is, why did you not follow the city's established hiring processes?
Okay. Thank you for your question. Initially, I had planned on following, it's not prescribed by law or by ordinance or anything else, but it's believed to be the city's practice, which is to advertise, go through resumes, and sort it down to the top 3 people, kind of the usual deal. And when I happened to be referred to Mr. Look, and I met with him, and I reviewed his background and all that, and I just honestly believed, I can't imagine finding someone with any better experience than he has. I couldn't imagine it. And I'm, being objective about it, because I didn't have any preconceived notions. Somebody referred him to me.
And can you speak to the lack of transparency?
Well, excuse me.
Okay.
I
Yes, sir.
listened quietly to you,
Okay.
so. Okay, well, it's perceived transparency on your part, but I was being as transparent as I could be, given that he had a job and I couldn't put him at risk. See, that was the thing, that was what was tying my hands. Otherwise, I would have, been fine with making it open early on. But I had to be cognizant of that. As far as developing a compensation plan, that compensation plan was based on Jack's compensation plan for 2023, almost identically. Okay, so that's where that came from. And all of this stuff, I worked in close collaboration with our city attorney specifically to make sure that we were adhering to all the required steps. But the only thing that drove the process from my point of view, and it wasn't a done deal until the city council voted on it. You know, it was proposed, but it's proposed, well, I don't know, I mean, you've been hired in your life, you know. They let you know what you're gonna make before they hire you, you know. So you can think about it, it's a relevant piece of information, or a relevant set of pieces of information. So I was as transparent as I believed I could be and adhered to the law very closely. I'm probably the only person sitting up here who went through the League of Minnesota Cities courses that are recommended for city council members twice, just to make sure I knew as much as I could know about doing this kind of stuff and doing it properly. And but at the end of the day, I believe that we found a candidate who is not only experienced in government at the local, been on the city council of Ramsey for 4 or 5 years, 13 years as a county administrator, or commissioner, excuse me, including chair currently of the Anoka County Board of Commissioners, had his own business in Anoka County for 22, 23 years, and also has, through that business, has contacts with the members of the state legislature. And I believe that the transportation and also having friends at the state capitol to get some grant-seeking help and/or debt forgiveness. He also worked down a deep indebtedness situation in Anoka County and got that worked back to a more normal level.
Could I speak?
So you asked me the question? That's my answer.
Okay. I'm going to make it clear one more time for you. I am not questioning Mr. Look's qualifications.
No,
This isn't
I
what this
understand.
question is about. This question and wanting to know why you didn't follow that city is all about the transparency on this council and the tendency for you guys to not be communicating clearly and looking after the best interest.
Well, I
of the
question
citizens of
whether
East
it's
Bethel.
really what the real problem is. We're not communicating what you want to hear. Because
not at all.
we're doing our best to communicate.
No,
Again, I told you what was tying my hands was I can't reveal what somebody's looking at while they're employed,
okay. How about if we
because
go
that
with
creates
this?
all kinds of problems in its own self.
Okay. You have given me your response
Yeah,
and the citizens, and my final comments is to Jack. Jack, thank you for your service. I can only tell you that I do not know how over the last months you have tolerated staying this long. The fact that you have tells me you are a man of honor and integrity, and I really, really do appreciate your tolerance to this environment. Thank you.
anybody else like to ask a question?
Jerry Johnson. I live on Walconia Circle. I think my biggest problem with it is you did it all yourself. I mean, apparently you didn't discuss this candidate with the other members of the council. They didn't find out about it. I recall one meeting where you were asking for information and you pretty much just blew them off and said, "Thank you, Brian," and moved on to
I
the...
could not reveal the information at that time.
Don't they have as much secrecy as
They
you do?
didn't have to approve him. I don't run any of these people.
You're the only one that has
I'm
to
just a
approve
fellow
them?
council member. I don't run everybody. I don't tell them how to
And how
vote.
do you know? Okay,
Well, they could have said,
agree. He
okay,
is-
let's table this
Excuse
for
me.
another couple months.
Yeah.
I believe
And
I did make that
agree.
motion.
Matt Look
Well,
has
there
very
wasn't a
good
second and it didn't go anywhere.
But the process, it was just so,
But to claim that it's
Only
like
I
some
can
legal
fix this.
process is completely incorrect. I checked with the attorney and it's not legally required process to advertise it and go, it's just not.
but
That's the
you
way it
can't
is.
discuss this among your council.
Because I asked it
your-
immediately of the attorney after I met Matt. I said, I need to know.
Well, what
is
makes
this-
you think that you're the one that gets to pick them?
I didn't pick, if I came in here and declared him as the
There were
next
no
city
other
administrator.
options. No other options were
Sure there was,
presented.
sure there was. No. That was the option, is no, we want to look at more people. That's not what the city council decided.
I just think it was very Trumpian of you.
Huh? It was very, very what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the. What did you say was very what?
Very Trumpian.
Oh, no wonder I didn't understand, okay.
Jill Anderson, 20913 Rendova Street. I'm also an elected official as a school board member. So first of all, I want to start out by commending you for running on transparency and listening to your constituents. I commend you, because that's exactly what you're doing. I want to say kudos for the opportunities that you're providing, for all of us to provide you input. As a current elected official that represents East Bethel and a much larger area than this city, when I get a call or an email, I respond. When I get called out on social media, I'm always out there responding. And I know there's a number of people in this audience who know my name, probably don't know my face, but they can tell you I respond. Jill Anderson. I want to commend Commissioner Brasted and Commissioner Look and Councilmember Mundo. Every time I've reached out to them, whether we agree or disagree on a topic, they have always responded to me. Whether it be on social media, Commissioner Look has responded to me many times. I might have been not so happy with some of his push on Highway 10 and wanted him pushing for 65 last year, but he always responded to me. Same with Commissioner Breistad. Same with Councilmember Mundo. I have reached out to all of you. Crickets. Haven't heard a single thing from any of you. And that's very disheartening, especially what's going on in this city. You all ran on transparency, responding to your constituents. I haven't seen that at all. And that's disheartening. As an elected official, myself, if I did that, I would be called on the table, and every person that was interested in something would be in my St. Francis School District meetings, calling me on it, and I would be called out. And earlier tonight, Commissioner Breistad mentioned, when you get a complaint, that's your opportunity to learn, reach out, and discuss. The four of you do not do that. I have not heard from any of you. You've all been tagged in numerous things on social media, and I know you're out there. Councilmember DeRoche, you were out there talking about veterans on the same page that you were being shredded and tagged in different comments, but you didn't reach out to any of us. Can you help me understand what is transparency in your book? Because if I look up the meaning of it, I'm not seeing it from any of you.
Can I respond?
I have a second comment. Second of all, Minnesota State Statute 1343, Subdivision 3, and I'm going to read it so everybody here in the audience can hear. When there's a vacancy, I got to turn this the other way because I didn't bring my cheaters with me, and I got to make it bigger. Names of applicants shall be private except when certified as eligible for appointment to a vacancy or when applicants are considered by appointing authority as finalists for a position with public employment for the purposes of this subdivision. Finalist means the individual will be selected to be interviewed by the appointing authority prior to selection. That means that Commissioner Look's name was public information on Thursday when you put the agenda out. You didn't put his name out there. Second of all, if you attended all these League of Minnesota Cities trainings and you reached out to the attorney, you obviously were not very well educated or didn't pay attention, and your attorney didn't guide you right, or you didn't listen. I don't know which one it is.
I'm not an attorney, so.
I know, but I'm just saying, there's definitely an issue there. So can you provide me, what does transparency do, and why have none of you
Can I
responded to me?
suggest something? When you want people to respond to you, it's poor strategy to attack them first. and then, and then,
That's great.
and then say, gee, why didn't I hear from you after you, you know, I'm aware of what your comments were on Facebook. My wife's on Facebook, and other people call me and tell me. That's just
So why
not,
haven't
that's
you
not a
responded
very,
to my
that's not a
emails?
very good strategy, though, if you want people to be cooperative. It's just like with the, it's just like, I am answering the question. But,
This is
no,
my
I'm
opportunity to
answering the
ask you a
question.
question.
What do you mean I'm lecturing you? I'm
I
asking
asked you
your
a question. What is transparency to you? How are you responding to your constituents? How are you responding? Who do you respond to?
Well,
Because
do you
don't
want to keep,
respond to
do you
me.
want to keep asking me, or do you want to hear what I have to say?
I don't want you to give me a bunch of crap. I want you to answer.
Well, so you just decide what's crap and what isn't, and so no matter what I say, you're gonna do whatever you want. We all know what transparency is. It's clearly revealing a response to a question. I didn't see any point in responding to you because you just attacked me without knowing me, without knowing any of the circumstances. Well, yeah, but it's part of being a human being too, is I don't have to, same as I don't respond to the so-called reporter at the Anoka County paper. He twists words, and so why should I waste my time feeding him information? If you want to make stuff up, go ahead and make it up. You don't need my help, you know, and that's what I told him.
One for the follow-up. Commissioner Brace, do you respond to people who don't agree with you?
So? I respond to plenty of people who don't agree with me, but I don't take serious people who attack me who don't even know what they're talking about. Yeah. Well, how could you well, which is it? If I was transparent, you would know what you're talking about. If I'm not, then how could you know what you're talking about? It can't be both. That's one reason I didn't want to feed out more information, because all it would be is used to attack either me or him or somebody else. And it's just like, there was plenty of time, there was enough time to go over that information and be prepared for Monday night's meeting.
No,
If there
there
wasn't, where did you get the questions from? How could you
The
not review
questions?
how could you not review the materials, but you had question after question?
I had generic questions set
No,
up because I
no,
knew that
no,
there was
they
going to be
weren't-
an
they weren't
interview.
generic. They weren't generic.
They were generic.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Would you like to ask a question? Not after that conversation, huh?
I had a few, but for the sanctity of time, I will just ask something completely unrelated. Does somebody actually run the city's, Andrew Cornea, 212th and East Bethel Boulevard in East Bethel. Long-time stalker, first-time talker.
Thanks for the humor.
I don't envy any of you, so I applaud you.
Are you sure?
Here and taking the heat. Good luck to you on your future endeavors. We've never talked, so I don't know anything about any of you, other than what I've read on social media. So that is kind of what my questions are geared towards. So that first question. Does the city actually have somebody that runs any form of social media other than the city website? And I guess the city technically has a Facebook page, but there's only
It's just a posting page, yeah.
Right. Is there somebody that actually physically is employed to run those things, or is it just somebody?
The city has a coordinator that looks at that. As Mayor Lewis stated, the Facebook page is just for notification. It doesn't allow any comments. The website is for informational purposes also. We do have a complaint page on there that people can register complaints. Generally, those complaints relate to street conditions, potholes, things of that nature.
Sure, okay.
We don't engage in the social media aspects that are traditionally associated with the number of these sites.
Right, and I understand that. I know that a lot of cities are moving in that direction, so I was just curious if that is something that there is a possibility for.
Can I speak to your question?
Yes.
I mentioned we did a survey in the spring through the East Bethel Bulletin about what the means of communication people paid attention to were. And it was East Bethel Bulletin, the printed item that goes out to everybody. And the second place was the website. So we've already identified that we need to beef up our website, make it better. We've found out recently we need to work on the audiovisual part of things too. Around here, these meetings in particular, the Planning Commission meeting in Parks wasn't up today. So there's been some problems with that too, so.
So that, sorry, without taking up too much more time, my questioning was getting towards Mr. Look, his position, he's only gonna be operating in it for 60% of the time for, from what I've heard was until, was it December 1st or February? Okay. So my question is would it be possible, because I believe the budget goes from
Jan 1 to Dec 31st. Yeah.
Okay, so would it be possible to use his, like that 60% or that 40% of his salary for those 2 months to temporarily hire somebody to beef up the website and actually make it user friendly and facilitate like however many thousand people that are going to be moving in the next year or so with the improvements and projects or housing development?
Yeah, there is money in the budget that can be found to beef up the website. Clearly the change from one city administrator to another is a big change for a city, you know?
Yeah.
Especially after it's been the same for 12 and a half years. So that's kind of been the big thing which we're working through, and clearly we're still working through it, and probably will be working through it for a while. As far as the 60%, that's just what Matt agreed to as far as the amount of his normal salary that he would take for the interim. He'll probably be working 80% on East Bethel business actually, but anyway, that was just his concession to.
Sure, and I'm not here to argue for that because I don't want to get jumped on my way back to the seat. You all look like great people.
Tough crowd, huh? Tough crowd.
So my argument is, it is very difficult, even with this being up on YouTube, sometimes to find this outside of YouTube for like the city council meetings, even for people that know where to find it. So that is where my line of questioning is going. Is there somebody that you can, or a group that you can reach out to, or have reached out to in the past to help facilitate making it easier and more user-friendly for people to get to these meetings?
One of the things that I would like to see is I use the internet every day and everything, but I'm not a cyber dude or something. But have a tutorial, so it kind of shows you the quick overview of video.
Right.
Click on this, if you're new here, and it gives you an overview on how to navigate the system for maximum value. That would be something I would want to see.
Does anybody care if I ask one more question? All right, completely unrelated, because I like to jump around. So for businesses and housing, I know that there was a big stink online about all of the 65 corridor, and we can't go outside, and we're going to start fights. So what is the city's plan for inside the 65 corridor and outside of the 65 corridor? Because I know there are developments on both sides of that imaginary line. And as far as businesses, I know everybody talks about getting people want a grocery store. Thank you so much. People want like a grocery store, or they want, something that's more like, small town friendly versus like another Dollar General, or insert whatever giant chain of things here. I know there was talks about a Walmart and that fell through, or whatever social media tells me. But and I know Joe, I don't actually know Joe. I know, is Joe in here? Joe? Hi, Joe, sorry. You said something like last week and I asked a question, but it was so far down in Facebook, I don't know if it's like the second or third page of Google, like nobody ever goes there. There was a conversation about subsidizing for businesses to try and improve or get them to come here. Is that a plan that is in place, or is that like we want to do that plan, or what are we doing to draw businesses here if they aren't here? And my apologies. Is there a plan to help improve businesses that are already here and like clean up some of the places that are on 65 that look less than desirable? And that is actually my last question. I apologize.
You sure?
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, all right. Who would like to address that, so it's not just me talking?
If Aaron, would you come up, and if you have anything to add with this to the conversation? But as far as attracting businesses, there are some economic tools that are available. One that we have used in the past is TIF, tax increment financing.
And we have a housing and redevelopment authority too that can help with redevelopment of some properties in the city.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did do was actually create the community development director position a handful of years ago, just to address some of these economic issues.
All right, thanks for all of your questions. I would be more than happy to sit down and go through the long-term comprehensive plan with you and point out where the MUSA boundaries are, what the future development growth could look like. At this point, I think the city of East Bethel is a little bit more in the reactive mode. We're waiting for developers to come to us. Now, granted, the best thing that we're finding for business growth is the referrals from other businesses in the community bringing us other businesses. So that's currently happening within our industrial park, which is fantastic. But to take up everyone's time with the long-term plans, probably not the most valuable use of time today, but please make an appointment to see me. We can go through it. Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Aaron.
You bet.
Thank you. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I know you're a smart guy and would have very good answers for us.
Say, Jack, there's been a lot of hyperbole about the city administrator job. Why don't you explain how you got the job?
Well, I think that's pretty well common knowledge.
Well,
I came to
think
East
there's a lot of people that probably don't understand.
I was a city administrator in Prescott, Wisconsin. I had an opportunity to come here as a public works director in 2006. I accepted the position. I was in that position for 4.5 years. There was a changeover in city council, and as a result, the previous city administrator was dismissed along with the assistant city administrator and the city attorney. An interim city administrator was brought in and apparently didn't work out. And I was approached by yourself and Mrs. Maggerly to see if I would be interested in taking that position on an interim basis, which I did and accepted on March the 3rd, 2006. I stayed in that interim position until May of 2006. I think at that time, council evaluated my performance and thought I would be a good fit for the full-time position, so that's how I'm sitting here today.
Well, I understand whatever's on the internet's got to be true, right? So, story is out there that there was all these applications and interviews and all these other procedures that were followed prior to you coming up here. And that didn't happen. You were brought in, make a long story short, yeah, when Heidi and Richard and I were elected, Doug Sell was the city administrator, he went out. The person was Tammy, I don't remember her last name, she was the HR person, she wasn't deputy city administrator, and the city attorney who was really sick with cancer and wasn't really doing the city a whole lot of justice. And so Dave Schaff came in, and so did Mark Veerling as our legal counsel, Dave Schaff did some really dumb things within a short period of time. And so that's when your name came up and we appointed you. So whoever's saying all this other stuff happened and, oh geez, you guys, you violated the laws, and there was no big cry about it when Jack came in. Where was everybody complaining? Where was the complaints then? Well, it's got nothing. Look, Jill, well, you know, to address your question, I don't answer people's dirt on Facebook. What about emails? What email? Well, you show me when you sent the emails. I'm not gonna argue about that. I don't deal with the Facebook crap because you know what? All it does is adds more and more and more. I'm not gonna do it. If someone wants to talk to me, call me on the phone. I'll sit and talk. But I'm not gonna get in this nitpicking crap on Facebook. And again, everything on the internet's true, I know. But in this particular case, that's not true. You were around back in the days when Jack came in. Why didn't you have a problem with that? Why is it now? And you know what's really sad? Kevin came in because Tim Harrington resigned. Okay, East Bethel says you got to appoint a mayor, so they picked Kevin Lewis. Kevin Lewis and these guys asked me, "Well, you want to serve on the council?" I said, "I really don't, because you know what? It's going to bring you more headaches than you can imagine. All you got to do, you got to do it." Yes. So what does the newspaper do? Comes out and says, "Yeah, Kevin Lewis appointed Mr. DeRoche because he's his neighbor." Yeah, he's my neighbor, but he didn't put in the paper that I had served 4 years on the council and 1 year as the mayor. So I don't, you know, the newspaper called me 3 times. No, I'm not going to call him back, because right after I swore in to be on the council again, this Ian wrote a heck of an article, and I called his editor and I said, "Look, if you're going to print stories about me, make sure it's truth." "Well, you got to come in and go through this and that, and I'll look through it and I'll decide what I'm going to print." And I said, "Then don't ever contact me again. If you're not going to print the truth, whether it's good or bad, don't do it." Yes?
I'm not trying to fight, I apologize, but if you want them to have the truth, you have to talk to them.
No, that's, newspapers sell sensationalism. Whether it's Minneapolis, whether it's the Unoka County Herald, or whatnot. So that was, I chose not to talk to them, and that's my business.
Again, it's our right to not talk to them, and it's your right to say we should, and it's your right to say we're not transparent when we feel we are being as transparent as we can be. We all have these rights. But, you know, so it's just a matter of we all have to live with each other and accept each other the way we are. I'm 69 years old. I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I don't leave my self-worth up to everybody else's opinion. I care a lot about my wife's opinion about it, my kids' opinion about it, and God's opinion about it. And everybody else is pretty far down the list, including these guys.
Well, thank you. You are our elected official. You ought to care about us.
Well, I'm talking about my self-worth.
That's irrelevant.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's very relevant. Sure it is. What? Speak up. What? Please speak up. I want to answer your question. Someone just asked me a question. And I hope that's true of all people. I tell people, one thing that's great about growing older, there's a lot of negative parts of it, but one of the great things is you become comfortable in your own skin. And whereas, you know, like teenagers, remember how much you cared about what everybody else thought about you? You don't have that going on when you're my age or older. It's just, you know, you just don't worry about it as much. You listen to people better too, actually, because you're not listening as though you need their validation. You're just listening to what they say, that's all. But any other questions we can address here tonight, or whatever? What?
What did you?
Oh.
I can't hear you, Joe.
Oh.
And that's
Anyway.
probably a good deal for you.
Anyway. Mr. Brian Bezanson.
You got it. 22337 Quincy.
Yep.
I've lit into you guys enough. Okay.
Oh, come on.
Kevin, we had a
Don't
great
give up. Don't
conversation
give up
over
now.
there. We had a great conversation over
I know,
there.
I'm just
But
trying to
you
have some
made
humor
the
with you.
statement that you could not reveal the candidate because of, you didn't want to jeopardize his employment. And you used the Data Privacy Act also. As someone who has held 2 election certificates, Matt can't get fired by anybody but the people. And as someone who also had their own company at one time, the only person that can fire you from that position, for me, it was the lady sitting in the front row right there. How did that apply? Why were you using that as a justification? He's an elected public official. The only way he loses his job in District 1 is if the voters reject him.
Well, I don't think I said that he would lose his job. If I did, I misspoke. What
You-
I meant was I didn't want to put him in a bad position. You know,
Okay.
That's all.
That might have been what you said, but we're
Yeah,
dealing with-
I've never claimed to be a perfect human being. I misspeak every
Yeah,
now and then.
Okay, so
you know.
it might have been a mistake in
Maybe,
semantics.
but no, what I meant was I didn't want to reveal information that would make his situation difficult, because all of a sudden he'd be asked by staff and fellow commissioners, what's this we hear about that? You know. Well, I felt like it was in that situation. I felt like I owed it to him to,
Well, I introduced myself to Mr. Look,
Yeah.
explained my history in East Bethel,
Yep.
what I'm doing, what I still do in East Bethel, and I sincerely hope that he has a very successful
Yeah.
tenure.
well, sure, for the sake of
And
our
he-
city, yeah.
And in my opinion, he has big shoes to step into. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. The gentleman in the back, you were gonna come up, yeah.
Chad Howard, 205th in Washington. Councils are supposed to be a unity group. We see a lot of nothing but unilateralism from yourself as far as
A unity group?
unilateralism, whereas
United?
you work independently regardless of whatever else anyone thinks. You just make a pick, as we've seen with the EDA. We've seen with Planning Commissioner Ryder getting appointed over the votes of at least 2 different people who were nominated, but you said, no, we'll just send.
Could you just slow down a little bit? I'm trying to track with you.
We'll just put Joe
Who,
Ryder.
who would you say, Commissioner Reinert or what?
No, Planning Commissioner Ryder, who you.
Oh, Ryder, okay.
Who you unilaterally.
Sorry, there's a
nominated.
commissioner named Reinert too.
Okay, well, regardless. What we see with you 4, I guess we'll include Mr. DeRoche in that as well as part of the replacements. You just act independent of yourself regardless of what other input you get from the city. Why have the boards making decisions and nominating people for appointment just to kick them to the curb so you can put your own person in who, as he mentioned, ran your campaigns to get elected. So nepotism, cronyism, it screams right there.
Well, you were making the same comments about me and Matt supposedly being old buddies
Did you
too.
know he has 5 articles on the Star Tribune about various harassment things?
But
Did
see,
you question him about that?
you use a biased newspaper, in my opinion, a very biased
Hey, that's-
newspaper as your justification.
It's the largest newspaper in the region, but that's fine if you want to consider
In the
them to be
region?
biased.
What region is that?
The Twin Cities Metro region, the upper Midwest.
It's the largest newspaper in the Twin Cities metro
You can believe
area.
what you want.
Bigger
All
than
I'm
the
saying-
Star Tribune, bigger than the
Yeah,
Pioneer
the
Press.
Star
huh?
Tribune is the largest newspaper in
Yeah,
the region,
okay.
which has 5 articles.
Anyway, but you're using a source that I don't regard as credible.
The Star Tribune you don't regard as credible.
I'm talking about the Anoka
I
County.
never mentioned the ABC
Anoka
newspaper.
County
I
paper.
wasn't talking about that one. I was
Anoka
talking
County
about-
paper, to me, is not a credible
That's fine.
newspaper.
You can believe that way you want, but
They're
when
a,
these-
they're a political activist in the guise of a newspaper,
That's-
in my opinion.
that's fine. So
That's
when the
my
Star
personal
Tribune-
opinion. When I lived in Minneapolis 41 years ago, I didn't subscribe to the Star Tribune for the same
When the
reason.
Star Tribune has 5 articles about Mr. Look, at one point being possibly removed from the
Yeah,
board for actions he did 2
yeah, but
years
you're
ago.
talking about accusations that didn't pan out. So
There's
I heard an
investigations.
article about you.
Did
Do you
you
want me to
ask him
tell
about
everybody
those?
about it and
Did you-
present it as though it's justified?
Did you ask him about
No,
those
see, it's
situations?
just nonsense.
During his interview? Is he past harassing constituents? Is he past harassing people via
But
text
there was
message?
nothing found there, was there? It was a false accusation.
He apologized for it,
It's a false accusation.
but it wasn't. So,
Well, how do you know it wasn't?
says
You
in the
know,
article that
you
read
do
the
a lot
article.
of slander of people there, Mr. Anthony Chadwick or Chad Howard or whoever you suppose you are. Who are you?
I told you it's Chad Howard. What my Facebook name is irrelevant of what is actually happening. I'm sorry I hold you guys accountable. As was said before, it's a circus.
I'm not worried about you holding me accountable. The only
Hence-
ones I'm
hence the
accountable
clown
are my
show.
family. What?
I brought that up, made a
What-
Facebook.
I don't
Facebook
read
page.
your crap.
You've communicated with me via Messenger several times. Regardless, everything you guys do is very unilateral.
Anyway, do you have any questions?
Are
This
you
is
gonna
a
continue-
question and answer session.
Are you going to
So
continue to be unilateral and just do it your own way, or are you going to actually?
We're going to continue to serve the residents of the East Bethel the best we know how.
Okay, and I
That's
did
all.
send several emails to you.
And there will
about
be
your-
election next
That's fine.
fall.
I did send you a very polite email, of which, as everyone else has pointed out, has never been replied to by any of.
I don't recall honestly
I
getting
came
an
twice.
email
It
from
Jack,
you.
has he ever sent, I
I
mean,
recall
our,
getting
our
an email.
emails on the city go through you. Have you ever
Yeah,
seen his go through?
No, they
as
don't
a
go
group?
through me.
No, they
They're
don't.
your own personal address, so I don't
Yep, they're
see
sent
any
to
of
your
them.
city council
I
email.
don't, honestly,
What's
I don't
that?
They're
recall
sent to
that.
your city council email,
I'll open my city council account.
and it
You'll
was just
never, you
questions
won't see
about
anything in
the
there.
supposed candidate. Just wanted to know your relationship history, how you knew them, where they came from.
Yeah, I don't
various
recall
questions.
having that email.
Okay, well, they've showed
Huh,
up,
Well,
so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's all that I have then, I guess. You talk about being transparent and, being for the people. Why are you dictating whether or not someone can sell their land and making them jump through hoops?
Who are you talking about?
The golf course and attempting to sell their land to Capstone, and you've made them jump through so many hoops that if that deal falls through.
What hoops?
What,
We approved the preliminary concept, and now the next stage is their traffic
should that fall
plan.
through though, what are you falling back on? Like that land is zoned.
What are you talking
The
about?
land
It's,
is
it's not
zoned.
our land to sell, and we're not the ones buying it. We're not
land-
party to the transaction. We're just the municipality in which it's happening,
Correct.
that's all.
The land is
Jake,
zoned.
do you understand the way cities work? We can't tell people to buy or sell their property.
They have a buyer in
It's
Capstone.
already zoned for what is told to put down there. The sewer water district is 3/4 of a mile
Correct.
square. Do you
Yep,
have any
and-
idea of how that all came to be?
Correct. The land is in there, it's zoned for residential, and you've made them jump through hoops.
No, it was mixed.
It's mixed use.
It might be mixed use, but it doesn't mean it all has to be mixed use. If they came forward with that development and said,
Do you know what the definition of mixed use
yeah,
is?
commercial, industrial, residential, and I'm glad they are still at least attempting to go through.
Are you aware that all that stuff and them decisions were made before we came in here?
Correct. They were made while you were still on the council
So,
to put the water. and
no,
sewer
no,
in.
no, 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 no. What do you mean I was still on the council?
You
I
were
came
part
on
of
the
the
council
council.
June 26th.
Previous council, like you like to report.
That was 12 years ago. I'm the only one that voted against the sewer
Correct,
water.
but the water and sewer went in at that time.
Look into it. Look at your facts.
The area is zoned for development. And you're
Okay,
making
do you
them
have
jump
any
through
more
hoops.
questions? Because that one we couldn't track on. 'cause
I
it
was just
didn't
wondering
make
if you're
sense.
ever going to reply to the email. That was the biggest one.
I don't honestly recall getting an email from you.
Okay, well, you should check your city council email because there's been several. And I know that there was an email that I sent that was.
But actually, it's, honestly, if I did see it, I don't think I would, because all you've done is attack me and attack the other people here. What's the point? Again, there's no point. You've made your mind up about we're bad, you're good, and so that's that. There's nothing to really do with it. So I have other things to do in life too, besides beat my head against a rock. So I think but there's no survey about it, but I'm actually very responsive to people who email me, but when they pre-indicate that they either despise me or think I'm bad or something, then what's the point? You've already made your mind up.
No, there was nothing negative in the email. It just was asking questions about how you got to the point of selecting who your
Yeah.
your
Well,
pleasantly.
I've explained
our
it very
pleasantly
clearly
surprised
now.
candidate would be.
You
so,
have to admit, I've explained it very clearly on several occasions now.
I suppose, so.
I mean, I really have. Like, I don't know how to explain it more clearly, I'll put it that way.
So, okay, well, thank you.
Have a good night. Thanks for your question. Well, there's still plenty of time. Let's.
Hi, Paula Marsh, 200th Lane Northeast. Obviously, people are pretty upset, Mayor, with how you went about doing things, and I don't know, I just kind of question or think to myself that the reason why you didn't let people know Matt's name is because of the things that are out there about him. I don't know. That's just kind of what I feel. The one thing that really bothers me is the fact that twice now I've watched you snap at Brian and what I think is very disrespectful language to him, because you went about doing things differently and out of the norm, and because he didn't have the opportunity, because the man works a full-time job, whatever it is, he did not have the opportunity to look at that packet that you sent out the morning of the meeting. Okay, so I've watched that. I don't know what that's about.
Do you have a question?
But it makes me uncomfortable. I'm making a statement.
Yeah, okay.
And I do have a question though,
Okay.
but I wanted to make a statement. I've watched Jack be very gracious with this whole thing, shaking hands. And what I want to know is that you said that you want to take things in a different direction. I would like to know, what is it with Jack that no longer fits with the
Okay.
direction you're taking things?
I didn't say things, I wanted to take things in a different direction. What I said was, it's common knowledge in business and other organizations that the change in a senior management from time to time is healthy for the organization. You get a different perspective. If there's baggage with the current senior management, it kind of goes with them, and you have a fresh slate to start with. I'm pretty sure that what I just said is true, and that's why it's also in government too. You try to have a change of management now and then, not one person doing the same job for 30 years. You know, you want to have a fresh perspective. Who are you talking about? Because we needed his experience. He's the only one who was on the city council before. The three of us were newly elected.
I've been on city council before.
Huh?
I've been on city council before.
You were still here, Brian. We didn't have to replace you. I'm talking about, we had a hole when I became mayor. When Tim resigned, I got appointed mayor by these folks, and then we had an opening on the city council. And I wanted Bob to apply for it, not because he's my neighbor 2 doors down, but because, and we probably said 200 words to each other in 27 years before this all started. It was because he had the experience. Plus, he had a lot of credibility with me, because I've lived in East Bethel for over 27 and a half years. I remember attending 2 of the meetings when that water sewer thing was going on. I know exactly how my fellow residents felt about it at the time. And I respected Bob because he was one of only five, that's the right way to say it. He's the only one on the city council who voted against it, because he knew the residents didn't want it. And at that time, the Met Council, I found out, biggest surprise I've learned since I've been involved in all this stuff is I assumed, I think like most people did, most people do pay attention to this stuff at all, that it was driven by the Met Council. The Met Council wanted us to build water and sewer. The Met Council didn't. They didn't want East Bethel to do a water sewer system for another 7 to 10 years. They said, you're premature. But it was our city council who, even on their way out the door, they decided to float the bonds, and they started the process. Even after a good many of them had been voted off the city council, and as lame ducks, they started, once you float bonds, you create the debt, and that drives the process. That's the whole idea of debt slavery to begin with. It's a means to control people. But anyway, that's why I asked Bob to run for the city council, because he had the experience. that we didn't have.
So, another thing about Jack is not only has he proven that he has done tremendous things for the city, there's more to it than that. Jack has built relationships
Yeah.
with community members.
Yep.
And they totally respect that man because, the man has integrity. And I really believe that that's what's missing on this council, is integrity.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to change your mind. Does anyone else, you were already up, could we just ask if anybody else has a question before Jill gets back up?
Ricky Snyder, I live on 7th Street and 224th.
Could you pull the mic a little bit closer, please?
Sure. Sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
You've been asked questions by several people here today, and a lot of what I've heard is that you refuse to answer the questions because you're being attacked. I'm interested to
No.
know, of the people who have asked questions, how many of you feel as though you've gotten an answer to your questions?
I don't know how I could have answered any questions I've responded to better than I did.
Well, you didn't respond to them at all. You just basically
Really?
said, I'm being
Well, when you get
attacked."
home, watch the tape of this if it's up, and I think you'll see that I'm actually answering as best I can. I'm not looking to avoid anything. I put my hand up Monday night and I said, if it doesn't work out with Matt and everything goes to hell in the city and all that, I'm the guy to blame apparently. So that's fine. I can live with that, but I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think it's going to be great. And there's no animosity with Jack or anything. It's just it's time for a fresh set of eyes working in the job, in my opinion, and apparently in some of the other council members' opinion. But I do not avoid answering questions. I'm doing the best I can answering them, I can tell you that. If I'm falling short, that's just my personal failure, I guess.
But that is not an option when you're an elected official. You need to make
Well,
sure.
maybe it's not
you need to-
happening the way you're saying. Maybe I am answering them. You just don't like the answers.
I haven't heard any.
You haven't heard any answers.
No. Someone was asking
Excuse
about
me, does
what you're.
anybody else got that read on it? I'm not answering it?
Do I get to ask my question?
Well, I'm just wondering, what do I have to do to be clear about answering
You
them?
won't give me a chance to ask my question, which was previously asked. The three of you ran on a platform of transparency, and thus far, I haven't seen much of it at all.
That's not a question, that's a statement.
I'm not done.
Well,
At the meeting on Monday, when you were discussing the appointment of the city administrator, you were having a conversation, telling us about the qualifications, and you were saying, this person and this person has had this experience, this person has this education. And it wasn't until he was invited into the room that you even said his name at all. My question is, this whole package should have been open for discussion with any of the residents of East Bethel. He's our employee. You're our elected officials.
what's your question?
I am asking you about transparency. You ran on transparency, and I haven't seen any of it.
Which is another statement. Do you have a question for me? I'm ready to and willing to answer.
What is your definition of transparency as it exists and as it's identified and expected of someone in your position?
It's to reveal information as you're able to do so. If we had, let me back up. If we had advertised, and let's say we got 10 resumes, okay, people. are we supposed to post them right away before anybody's a finalist or anything? Where exactly do you start being
You-
transparent? You have to look out for people's identities if they're working for this city or that city. You don't just publish it out in the newspaper or East Bethel Bulletin. Yeah, somebody sent us a resume, they're interested in this job. We have to be careful how we handle information.
It is not your job to protect an applicant from the job because of ramifications that they might
Whose job
have
is it?
in this case,
Whose
in
job
the job
is,
of
whose job is it to do that, protect them?
That's, if they apply for the job, then that's what they need to contend with is any ramifications with their current employer.
Well, that's gonna limit the number of people who are gonna apply for a job if they can
Well,
think
nobody
you're
ha-
gonna just post their information out there.
We didn't have any.
But
people
you're
that
not
were-
listening to what Bob said before. Jack didn't go through any
We-
of that stuff.
No one had the opportunity to apply for this job. So you don't have to worry about people not wanting to apply because they haven't been given the opportunity.
Yeah, well,
It was-
it was, I don't deny that it wasn't what you could consider the norm, but I think the results speak for themselves in terms of the quality of the person we've gotten. And I think that's really, in the end, is what is gonna matter most.
You can have a well-qualified person for a job that doesn't do the best job.
Sure,
Just
you're
because
right.
he's well-qualified, and I couldn't agree with you
You're
more,
right. That's not a guarantee.
Doesn't mean that he's going to do the best job.
Right, it's a guarantee. It's always a risk when you hire people. They
So
could
my-
look great, they can sound great, everything else. It doesn't guarantee that it's gonna work out.
My next question then is, for future city positions, are those jobs going to be posted like they should?
Well, I assume they will be. I can't guarantee it forever, because I probably won't be here anyway. But, I would imagine so. It's an unusual thing to just have somebody pop up who seems to be so inordinately qualified. It surprised me a lot, to tell you the truth. Surprised me a lot. I didn't expect it to happen at all. Like I said, I expected we'd go through advertising, sorting through resumes, pre-interviews, and then final interview. I expected to go through that process. And it just so happened that this person popped up, and I just said, wow, I can't imagine doing any better than this.
Well, but were you the only one that decided that? I mean, did you talk to these other guys and say, hey, this guy looks really good?
Well,
Or did you just decide yourself, Kevin?
Huh? I'm not gonna reveal that. Because I promised I would not reveal it to the person. Yeah. But again, this city council had to vote. I don't run the people here. I'm not their boss or anything else. If they didn't care for the person, they could have said, no, let's go open the process up and do it the other way. But anyway, okay.
I get back to my question about transparency. You said you've been very.
It's one of those words. Every word in the English language can be defined a number of ways depending on the person. Okay, so there is a dictionary definition, but it means clear. That's literally what transparency means. It can be clearly seen through.
Open and honest is the definition of transparency. Open and honest.
So.
Well, I don't know. I don't
you
have
are
a
still
dictionary.
not answering.
Well, I don't have a dictionary in front of me. I don't
We're
know.
gonna go round and
No.
round trying to figure out what
Anyway,
everybody's definition is.
What is your?
Do we have anything else tonight besides that process?
Transparency for you? You won't even answer the question.
I tried 3 times. I don't know how many times I can try it.
You kept cutting me off.
So,
Everybody else here.
I want to make clear, there were some accusations by the mayor saying that he was targeted in emails. And I want to read all of you my emails that I sent. Good evening. Can you please help me understand the info I'm seeking about replacing the city administrator? Evidently, it was discussed at the most recent meeting, but there's been no video online to watch.
Can I correct you on your premise is false.
Well,
I said you attacked me on Facebook East Bethel Facebook sites. I didn't say you did it by email.
Well, you
So
said
the
you didn't
premise
answer
you
the
started with is
questions and
incorrect.
emails. Okay, well, let me finish.
You attacked me on Facebook
First,
without
is
ever
Jack
knowing me or
leaving,
anything.
ending his contract early, or being let go? No response. Good evening. Can you please help me understand the info I'm hearing about replacing the city administrator?
It doesn't matter if
Evidently-
you read all of it because, like I just said, your premise is incorrect. You
So,
say,
I
you
have
say
two
I didn't,
questions-
I
two
s-
more
I said
questions
I
for
didn't
you.
respond to you because you're clearly attacking me already.
I have two questions for you. First of all, when did the council meet to discuss not renewing Jack's contract? Because I've watched every single council meeting from January 1st until he announced his resignation. And I didn't see ever where you guys discussed it as a group. When did you guys discuss that?
I don't recall.
There was no meeting.
There was
There was no meeting.
There was no meeting.
Okay, I just want to understand that that's how that happened. You didn't meet as a group publicly, so you might have, maybe, I'm not assuming you violated the
Yeah.
open meeting law, but possibly you might have. Because I don't know how Jack would have been informed you're not renewing his contract when you guys didn't discuss this publicly. Second of all, when Commissioner Look became a candidate on Thursday, his name was public. You chose to violate 1343 subdivision
Well,
3.
our attorney didn't tell me anything about that, and I go by him. I don't go by anybody else.
Just to be clear, 1343 subdivision 3 requires that a candidate for for a position is public information. That gives your constituents the time
Well,
to
like
be
I
able to
said,
research.
our city attorney didn't tell me that, and I
Probably because
go
you
by.
didn't tell them anything. But thank you for
Probably,
answering our
so you
questions
just
tonight.
assume the conclusion.
Bob, I have just one quick question.
Sure.
Can you,
Did
microphone?
Matt appoint you to a board?
No,
You've never?
absolutely not. Julie Brasted, 12 years ago, appointed me to the Anoka County Corrections Commission Advisory Board. I didn't know Matt. Am I correct, Julie?
That's accurate, yeah, and he served well on that committee.
I think everybody in this room would agree that it would be a good night to have our city attorney here, just to mitigate some of these questions and maybe diffuse it. I did want to state that it's very, very common practice, small or large municipalities, cities, agencies, to recruit, following best practices, to recruit talent that meets the qualifications to fit a specific position. In this instance, the position of city administrator or city manager is a very, very unique set of skill sets. They have to be politically astute, they have to understand codes, they have to be able to interact with contractors, engineering firms, law enforcement, first responders. They basically are the umbrella that encompasses everything about our community. Those types of skill sets, although I agree with what a lot of folks are saying, that maybe we put an ad out in the paper and let people apply for it, it's very, very common practice in this country. For example, if you live in Los Angeles and you want to bring a city manager that's in New York City or Chicago, because they have the skill sets that are going to take that community forward, you embrace those type of candidates. It's not that you're neglecting your home roots. It's just that you know the qualifications of this specific position sometimes need an outside different elevation. When I was brought in to the Economic Development Authority, one of the strong skill sets that I brought was running very, very large economic strategic developments in huge communities with multi-million-dollar projects coming in, military and whatnot. When you're shifting gears and going into a semi-rural area and you're transitioning just like we did on the tech corridor coming up from Centerville and Hugo and whatnot on I-35 and working with MnDOT and DOT on what we're doing on Interstate 10, and as Commissioner Brastad mentioned earlier, all the work that's been in play for 7 to 10 years with MnDOT, the state, and the feds on these reduced conflict intersections, we all know about that, the RCIs, really didn't turn out to be a positive thing, okay? It caused a lot more confusion in some cases. Do I run the yellow light? Do I slam on my brakes and have a semi run me over? That's what goes through everybody's mind. It's one of the most dangerous highways in the state of Minnesota. So when you're looking at transitioning and moving a community forward, it makes sense that somebody has those political connections where we're going to get on the top of that desk to make sure that our needs, that squeaky wheel, that somebody listens to us when we need funding to improve our schools, our walkways, our road transportations, our infrastructure systems, our power grids. So I have the fortune of really being able to relate to what that city manager position does. And they have to be a chameleon, but the brick and mortar of their skill sets, they've got to understand construction, engineering, infrastructure, politics, the whole bag of tricks. And I can guarantee you this, unless you walked in those shoes and you really want that job, I can guarantee you after 2 weeks, you'd probably say, I don't need this crap. There's too much crap to deal with. It takes a very, very special DNA to walk in those boots. And Jack, again, you've done a phenomenal job. I've learned a lot from you just listening to your conversations and our off-campus conversations that we've had. And you know my background, as many of this council people and Mr. Mayor, you do as well. So there's a lot of talent in this room. I think the common denominator is nobody likes how it was rolled out, but it's common practice. In a smaller community, it's more transparent when something like this happens, because in a huge city, you get lost in the shuffle. You don't see the politics as clearly. But in a smaller community, we're all kind of right here in each other's yard, so to speak, and we're like, hey, this wasn't advertised. What the hell is wrong with that? It's very common practice for this type of search, for this type of role, to happen this way. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, we've got 10 minutes left.
Hi there. Sassy Calhoun, 24024 Fillmore Street Northeast. It's not a question, it's a concern, and I'm hoping that it can be worked out. There always seems to be audiovisual issues when the council meetings or the, like last night's planning commission.
Of late, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there just always seems to be something. And I mean, I joke that we should have it like a football pool, and at what point will it go out? But it either doesn't start when it should, or it doesn't come on, and I don't know who handles it. I don't know where that, because I just have no idea who handles it, or how, is it a problem between whatever happens in this room and the recording uploading to Channel 10? But there's some disconnect in that, and it would be really great if that could be sorted. Does anybody know how that's handled, or? I don't know.
The issues with Channel 10 are, we have electrical drivers that do the uploads and the transmission. We had a power outage here that fried 2 of them. We're waiting on the parts for those to come in. Parts don't come in like they used to, and this is an old system, so it makes it more difficult to get those on a speedier basis. We are looking towards it. We've also had discussions about bringing to council the possibility of a total upgrade of the system. This system is kind of a combination of a number of different manufacturers, pieces and parts. Sometimes the interfaces don't work exactly the way they should, so I'm sure this will be something that will be discussed probably for next year as a budget item.
Okay, great. The other thing, just a comment on it. We may not like how it all went down, but it did. And we have Mr. Look, who's going to be our new city commissioner, and I think we need to embrace him and not make him feel like he's not wanted or needed, because he is. And we need to try to put it all behind us and move forward, because if we don't, we're gonna hurt ourselves as a city. We don't have to like what they did, but we have to deal with it and move forward. And welcome, sir. We're glad you're here.
Me again, Andrew.
Glad to see you didn't get rolled on your way up there.
Yeah, a couple of low blows down by the kneecaps, but I survived. I appreciate all of you gentlemen. I am going to address Mr. Look. Actually, first, Oscar, fun fact, did you know the United States as a whole is looking into no turn on red across the whole United States? Fun story.
did not know that.
Okay, yeah, just.
I thought it was a rolling stuff.
Just, well, that's California stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's like, you want me to stop or you want me to slow down?
Country stuff, yeah. Yeah, fun story, fun fact, I'm full of them. Mr. Look, everybody's talking about you, but nobody's been talking to you. I didn't get an opportunity in there. With all of the digital issues, I don't even, and I apologize, I'm pretty ignorant. I don't watch any of the council meetings just because I either can't hear them, I'm normally deaf, and I have 2 kids that play hockey, so I don't really even have time. So would you be able to take like a minute or 2 or 5 to give us your interpretation of you and your background? Because I've only seen people telling me about you or people putting your name on Facebook. So I've never actually seen you or heard about you other than apparently Facebook or here. So is there a way that you can?
If I could make a suggestion, I mean, it's up to Matt if you want to get up and do it, but at Monday night's city council meeting, he gave a very good introductory remarks that might be informative on that score. You might want to listen to him.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
I was just, yeah, sure. No one else was jumping up, so I just figured eat the 5 minutes, but that's, yeah. I appreciate
But yeah,
your time.
the Monday night city council meeting is on the media center. And you can just go to the City of East Bethel website, go to the media center, and it's up there, and yeah,
That one
it's
you
right
can
at
hear.
right near the start of the meeting too.
It's clear. I watched it today.
Okay. Thanks.
Four minutes left. We don't have to go the whole 4 minutes.
I just wanted to get up and thank Jack for the years of service. You know, you've been in this job, I think you said like 12 years, and I've been here for 11 years. It's really been a pleasure, sir, to work with you. And I will always wish you the best. Whatever your future looks like, I know you're a workaholic. So it does not sound like you're going to be on a beach sipping, you know, pina coladas or anything anytime soon. But it has been a pleasure. And I hope that we stay in touch because, you know, we've talked many hours over many subjects over the last 11 years. So I was just going to ask you, Mayor, maybe you would want to announce to this group about Jack's going away party. What is the date? November?
I felt like I stepped in it on Monday night when I brought it up. You seemed completely unaware of it.
I'd stepped out of the room to address an issue with one of our deputies. And
So is it okay to reveal it now?
That's fine by me.
Lord knows I want to be transparent, right? Yeah. If I haven't picked up anything from the meeting. I believe it's at 3 o'clock on the 27th of November. It'll be before our city council meeting. I believe it's from 3 to 5 on Monday, the 27th of November. We're going to have I don't want to say farewell party, but acknowledgement party for Jack. And thanks for bringing that topic up.
Thank you.
All are invited. Everyone in the city is invited.
Julian, thank you so much. We will stay in touch. I appreciate the kind words from everybody in the audience tonight. It's been my pleasure to work with the finest group of people I've ever been around, the finest staff. I wish you all nothing but the best. God bless and Godspeed, and I won't forget you, and I will be around. Call
Sounds
me if
good.
anybody ever needs me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jack.
I guess with that, we can draw the meeting to a close unless there's a last question or.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I want to thank all of you on behalf of all these folks, including Jack and all the staff and everything for being here tonight. It was a good turnout. So thank you very much for that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none heard.